not do that. What's one way I can make it not hit the nut? Yeah, I can go in and add some limits to my joint. So if I right click on my joint, edit the joint, now I can turn on minimum, maximum, and I can adjust these, but probably not 90, probably 5. And then my maximum would be probably the other way. The 60. There we go. They have to have a difference between them. There. But so that's a little bit too much still. It's still hitting a little bit. And why is it going away when I edit that joint? Why can't I see that screw? Yeah, because I made the joint way up here in the history, and I didn't put the screw until after that point. So I can also double click on the joint and kind of see my angles. And then I can use that to put that in. So I can kind of move it around. And the closer you are in, the less the snap is going to be. See? It looks like the snap is stuck at 5 degrees. So there's there 5. So maybe 58 degrees is where it needs to be. Yeah, so there it looks good. So you can do joint limits and just kind of set the number where you want it to be. There's also another way to do this. If I right click on it and said edit motion limits, now I can kind of drag them in here sometimes. But now I can see it, and I can still see my other screw, because now it's happening at this point in time, not back when I created the joint. So now I can adjust those a little bit more to get that. So maybe it's actually 59, right? 9. There we go. Now I can see exactly where it is while it's working. And I can preview it, see it go from one extent to the other extent. And that's just by going in, right clicking on it, and doing the edit motion limits here, and not just editing the joint. I'm going to go in and turn that off though. Now that can spin all the way around. There is another way we can do it also. And so in the real world, how would that stop moving? It hit the other thing, right? And so if I go in and I go to assemble, anything here that might help me? The motion links are if you want to have one thing turn, another thing move a different direction, or like you turn one gear and another gear turns also. That's the motion link. Context sets. So we want to see when it's going to make contact with something else, right? I could just turn on all contact, and now nothing moves. Because it's touching this other piece, right? There's already some contact there, it's not going to move. So I don't want that. Enable contact there. So I want to turn on enable contact sets. So I wanted to tell it what things I want to look at. Also, now it only has to think about and do the math for those couple items, not everything in the whole file. If I turn that on, and now I can make a new contact set. And of course, I'm going to pick the bar, right? And what else am I going to pick? Yeah, they're both where it's going to stop, right? Click there and say OK. Now when I turn this, it's going to stop exactly where it hits it. without having to go in and set joint limits. And I can go over here where everything we make comes over here. So I can go in, just turn that one off for now. Now I can free flow. Then I can just go back in here, turn it back on. Now it stops. And then I just revert back to my starting position. So another question was asked of why did I go into that other joint and set it as a rest position, right? But it always snaps back. Why do you think I did that? Yeah, so I don't have to keep hitting revert. So usually on everything I'll do that. Kind of depends on how I'm working with it. If I'm just trying to test that one joint, I'll set it. But if I want to be able to move it to see like an open position and a closed position, maybe take a screenshot of it, then I won't turn the reset back on. But what if I want to make, I need to move it because I want to make a hole underneath it. If I want to make a hole like right underneath where this thing is covering, how could I do that? Yeah, just turn off that tab, right? And now I can easily make my hole there and I don't have to worry about it. What if I want to do something on the inside of this thing? I want to work on the inside of this. I can turn off some other stuff. Yeah, remember I can also, you started going through the body's components, where I can activate a component, so that kind of grays out everything else except for that one component that I'm working on. What's another way that I can get inside of this thing? Is up under inspect. You remember back a few weeks. Slicing it. Yep. So the section analysis. Then I can just pick on a face, drag it in. Now I can see what's going on in there. So I can go in, I can sketch and work in here on the inside of this part. And again, it just made that folder out here. So I can turn off the section analysis and then I get my whole part back. And I can have multiple ones going. So I could have this one. I could also have one going this way. So if I have them turned on, I can switch between which one I want to use just by clicking it. Or I can just turn them all off, the whole folder, or just turn them off individually. As long as I don't have any turned on, it's going to give me the full view. But as soon as I turn any one of them on, I can only have one at a time, it's going to give me that section. Okay? So that's another way we can see inside of the part we're doing things. Any questions on any of that? So don't be afraid to turn components off if they're in the way. Do a section analysis so you can see inside. Sometimes you might always turn this off, create a sketch here, but I want to make sure that's lined up with that other piece. Now I can just turn that back on and project those edges. Turn it back off. Now I can see how it's lined up, right? So I can kind of go back and forth. Don't be stuck in, oh, I need to look at it only this one way. No, turn stuff on and off. Zoom in and out. Sometimes you want to be in close, sometimes you want to be out far, right? So any other questions on that?